Hello, we will go over the Linux commands and select the ones that makes relevant so we can add them into our Web 3.5 operating system as well. We have file manipulation over there, but let's see. I created some kind of list that is coming from cloud, and then I will be able to select them and explain them. Now we have ls, and we want it to be working ls as well. So that is listing, right? Just I can keep like this. And then the next thing is changing directory. So what we need is both print working directory and change directory should be possible, but what we need here is um, kind of a variable to have the corresponding thing, variable of working directory, so that we can keep in the variable. And this is web 3.5 correspondence to it. So changing directory, change variable to uh, given directory. So it may be possible that there are some checks need to be done, right? It requires this file to be exist and these kind of things. We don't need to be advanced, but we can do it. So making directory in the interface, we have it already. And but we also need this kind of thing, removing directory, right, folder and files, this kind of things. This is removing, making directory, removing directory, and removing of the file, or recursively removing file. So what I don't like is additional flags. So instead of having the comments, we would like to have functions, because we want to keep as similar to JavaScript as possible. The JavaScript should be the console, instead of we are having the additional bash script that exists in Linux. So we want to keep close to the native JavaScript, to not invent an additional bash script unnecessarily. What I don't like in the bash script and, for example, Python script, you can do the same in both cases, but they have different syntaxes, and the language models sometimes generate bash script, which is more difficult to understand. I think Python scripts, for example, in those operating systems are much easier to understand. Anyways, so that is why I would like to keep them, and these are all copying file, um, that's maybe possible, and also moving uh, old file like that. So one more thing here, our file system maybe should contain all the uh, computers at one place. instead Instead of we going over the file system, we could have different computer names, is their root directories. But the problem is this computer names changes over time. The file system mount operation, like if the computer joins to an URL, that will be sometimes available, sometimes not. So the copy operation, for example, could copy from one machine to other one, and sometimes we want files to be synchronized. Definitely we need some additional commands which is not present in Linux systems. So um, ideally I prefer file to be present in all the computers. So, but this is also kind of wasting the resources of the computers, right? There are RAID systems for the storages. I will not go into those details, but we should consider these things for the architectural of the uh, architecture between the computers to simplify further. But the needs right now, they are not very clear, because this is a very early portion of the development of a new type of operating system that allows multiple computers working at the same time. Now, do we want to list the files? Now, this is, I don't know, like the listing file, we are not using this as a real console, right? So, and even those kind of things. So do we want to user interact from the console? Not much. But mouse movements and finding files is not easy. So I will instead, I would like to keep them later, at least these operations. Finding is also important, but maybe we can find a better way of doing finding things. So finding operation is important, and also yeah, these user path and other things, we don't have this system yet. So in operating systems, Linux, Windows, there is a path variable that defines the executables. We don't have the concept of executables in Web 3.5 yet, but we should have it at the end. Maybe JavaScript files will be executables. These are the considerations for further, but we don't have the ownership operation, these kind of things yet. These are all not necessary for us currently. Also, we don't have the processes, and we can check the disk usages and this kind of things. That will be interesting. But we may need to have some kind of file system metadata. We don't have any metadata. We are keeping the files as is with their content. So, but there should be a ways of doing the metadata, and we don't have the storage space directly, but maybe it allows. So these are operations that can be network connectivity. We will not assume that network connectivity for now. We have the WebRTC peer-to-peer connection system that allows those computers to connect each other, but not an external server for now. But this will be also interesting thing. And I'm also looking at the compression, and this kind of things requires more advanced libraries we cannot directly do right now. So we will be doing in the later phases. Even we can have Git. I think Git is an important part here is not shown. Is version control system. Okay, we can have the code within those multiple machines, but to transfer and keep track of the changes, Git is a useful tool from that perspective. And sorting within the file, removing duplicates, counting the number of lines. I think these all should be some kind of functions and JavaScript library. But this, I think, most important part from what I am seeing here is file system and the find operation. So we can decide that way. So we can implement the file system operations and more comments in the next session.